everyone, welcome to Crochet Objet Knitting. If you're new here, my name is Moran. I'm coming to you from Israel, from the center of Israel, from my studio in Ramat Gan. Today is, I think, Tuesday, June 22nd, and today I decided to make a time for a short and a sweet video, to record a short and sweet video for you. Welcome to my Crochet Objet Knitting Studio. Here I held my weekly knitting and crochet group. So this week I had, as always, the Mondays group. On Monday morning, about 10 to 12:30, we meet and we knit and crochet together, and everybody's busy with their patterns, and I'm busy running around the table, helping and teaching knitting and crochet, and chatting, drinking tea and a very good coffee and some snacks. So this was Monday. I also had the Tuesday knit night group, and actually it's the same. It's just with another group of girls, and it's running about from 6 in the evening to about 2 or 2.5 hours. So we sit and knit and crochet and having a lot of fun. Here in my studio, I also had everything related to my Etsy shop, so you can find me on Etsy, my patterns. Sometimes I have kits for my blankets with cotton balls. So at this moment, I think there are a few more kits of the stripes and colors blanket. Not sure how many left, maybe only 2 of them left, but and usually I have all the patterns there. Here I write my patterns down, I take pictures. Here I create my video tutorials, and and here I write my blog posts. I usually like to write a blog once a week, but it's not very easy to me lately. We've been very busy lately. We had a bar mitzvah for our youngest, and it was a little event. Finally we decided to make it at home, so we had this event at home. So we had a lot of preparations, and we had the ceremony in the synagogue here down here in our street. So usually I like to blog every week, but it's not always very easy for me. So I know I skipped a few weeks lately, but I hope to write. I do have a nice, last week I had a nice Friday group. So from time to time I have a Friday group coming to knit and crochet. I have a very nice set of pictures from this Friday workshop from last Friday, so I hope I can find the time and put them on the blog for you. So my blog is you can find my blog on crochetobjet.com. On Instagram I'm also, and on Facebook I'm also, you can find me as crochetobjet.com or crochetobjet, sorry. That's for the social media. Today, this morning, I was very, very busy recording a few video tutorials for a new pattern I'm about to release, which I might share with you a little bit of it at the end of this video. But I decided to also make some time to sit and record a little bit about a recent blanket that I finished just a few weeks ago, I think. By the way, today I'm wearing my Cumulus T. It's a pattern by Petit Knit, and I knitted it using the pure silk from Knitting for Olive, and yeah, I enjoy it very much. This is a good knit to wear during the Israeli summer, so yeah, I use it a lot, I wear it a lot, and I love to wear it with my linen shorts and also with skirts and with denim, and yeah, I really like it. So yeah, I wear it a lot during the summer here. Yeah, so I think if you clicked on the video, you already know that I'm going to talk mainly about my basic granny square blanket that I recently finished. I do have a lot of final objects and works in progress to share, but if I will include it, everything in today's video, it's going to be an endless episode. So yeah. So I will only include everything related to my basic granny square blanket, the new blanket I just finished. So yeah, this is the blanket, and yeah, so let's start sharing all the details and all the excitement and everything related to this sweet, simple and basic granny square blanket. So I'm not sure, I think I talked about it in one of the last or previous episodes where I told you I started to make this blanket last winter, one day when I was, laying on the couch for a midday power nap, and it was a little bit cold, and I felt, although we have so many cotton blankets, I thought it might be a nice idea to have a plain and very basic and simple woolly blanket made for the living room for the family use. And yeah, because at the end of the day, my cotton blankets are mainly live in the studio, so they can be here for the knitters and crocheters that are coming here to the studio. And yeah, from time to time you will see one of the kids will come here to grab one and to take with him to snuggle with in the living room or in his or her room. But they usually sit here and they are part of the studio, I think, styling. Yeah, so I thought it will be a good idea to have a plain and simple blanket, to have it in the living room and to use it during the winter. So I started to make granny squares out of heavy merino wool. I made it all out of heavy merino wool from Knitting for Olive, color cloud, sky cloud maybe. Anyway, I had a few balls here in the studio and I started to knit 6 round squares. I think I had a general idea of how I wanted to look. I knew I wanted to crochet a very simple blanket because I thought if it will be too interesting and too, if I will design something special, it will eventually find its place back to in the studio, because the knitters will want to see it and take some inspiration. And so I really wanted to keep it simple. So I started to knit 6 round squares, and of course, as always, I shared on Instagram, I think, or on Facebook. I think I shared it on stories. I shared my squares. I shared my joy of crocheting these squares, because really brings me a lot of joy to crochet a simple granny square. After all, um, even if it's a plain and a basic and a simple thing to crochet, I still really enjoy it so much. Yeah, and I started to crochet and shared it on social media, and I got tons of requests. Please, can you share how you crochet the square? And I said, okay. I first started to answer DMs and emails and say, look, there are so many beautiful tutorials out there, and I shared links. But eventually I thought, why not? I will make basic granny square, 6 rounds basic granny square video tutorial, and I'll share how I crochet my squares. So I did it, and I uploaded it to my YouTube channel, and then I continue crocheting my blanket, and yeah, I think it was it's every ball of the wool made 4 of these squares, and I didn't have so many balls, but I also didn't know exactly how long or how big I want my blanket to be. And also I know that from time to time I order for the girls here in the studio, I order from Knitting for Olive. So I thought every time I will have a shipment from Knitting for Olive, I will add 2 or 3 balls, and I will add it to my blanket, and I will see, I'll go with the flow. I'll see how many squares I need and how big I want my blanket to be. So that's what I did. So I don't know to tell you how many shipments, but there were quite a few shipments from Knitting for Olive here, coming here with 2 more balls and 3 more balls until I finished my blanket. Yeah, a sip from my coffee. This is the second coffee of the day. Usually the second cup might be a matcha or a coffee, but I don't like to drink coffee after, maybe 12:30 or 1 o'clock, because I don't want to disturb my sleep quality. Yeah, this is the reason. Because I really love coffee and I can drink coffee all day long. Anyway, yeah, so eventually it came out. I wrote it here, so I'll open my note and give you all the information. So eventually my blanket is made out of 12 by 8 squares. Let's take a look. So the blanket is 8 by 12 squares, pretty big. It's not a huge one, but it's pretty big, and it's very nice for my family use, for the family. So it's 96 squares in total, and with the border, the finished blanket came out 130 on 188 centimeters, so about 130 by 190 centimeters. And yeah, while I was making the squares, I was, trying to start thinking about the joining. I really love to use a few methods of joining, but I never used the sewing method, and I was thinking maybe I will use the sewing method for the joining, to join the squares together. And I made a little swatch of, a few granny squares, and then I tried to join them with the sewing method, and I liked it. I liked the result, so I decided that's what I'm going to use in my basic granny square blanket. So when I had most of the squares, I started to join the squares, and this gave me an idea of how this blanket is going to look like. What I liked about this sewing method joining is that it keeps the work very clean and very simple, and it keeps the idea of, you know, getting back to basics, and I really liked it. So yeah, that's how I joined my squares, and I decided that if I have the squares tutorial on my YouTube, I will upload the sewing method as well. So I made a YouTube tutorial where I shared how I joined the squares using the sewing method, and yeah, it was a nice experience. I liked it. I'm not sure I'm going to recommend this joining as the best one because of tension. Where you join, I joined the, you know, the vertical lines first, and then the horizontal lines. After all the vertical lines were joined, I joined the horizontal line. And while joining, I decided that I don't have enough squares in the vertical direction, so I kept a little bit of yarn at the end of every vertical line where I was joined, and to add one more square to each of my rows. And yeah, I think there is a tension issue when you use this method. So maybe if you use a cotton yarn, which is less flexible than a wool yarn, and this yarn, by the way, the Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive, is a little bit like a spongy yarn, if you know what I mean. It's a little bit, so it's more flexible. So when you sew the squares together and you join using the sewing method, you don't want to pull to give your yarn extra tug, like you don't want it to be too stretched. I hope you get the idea. And you also don't want to break the yarn, so you have to keep it in a balanced tension. And so I think if you are a beginner, I don't think I would recommend that you use this joining method if you are a beginner. I think the front slip stitch method, joining method, is better, or to join your squares with a single crochet when you hold the squares facing inside, facing each other. And I do have one here on YouTube, a front slip stitch method, joining method, so you can check it out. I used it on my Over the Moon blanket, and also on a few crochet cushions I made. Yeah, and we use it a lot here in the studio, but for this granny square blanket I used the sewing method, and I use back loops only on each square. Yeah, and I have a full detailed video tutorial for the joining, for the sewing joining method. I will link all the videos, video tutorial, relevant videos for this blanket down below in the description box for you. Yeah, and then while I was joining my squares, I pretty much imagined already what kind of framing I want to do. I knew I want to keep it simple. I knew I don't want any extra designing effects or stitches, special stitches in the framing. So after I had it all joined, yeah, and I was waiting for more balls to come because I didn't have enough balls. I think I had only enough yarn for the first round of joining. And for the first round, I just kept the granny square idea, so 3 DC clusters around. I will try to get closer and to show you. So the first I hope you can see. I hope there is a focus. So the first line, the first round of joining is simply continuing the 3DC cluster like in the granny square. So this is the first joining round. And then after this, after the first round, after I made a full round of 3DC clusters, I made 3 rounds of double crochet stitch in each and every stitch around the blanket. Yeah, like you do in a solid square, actually. So it keeps it really, really simple, and it gives it the blanket a very simple and basic look. And this is exactly what I wanted this blanket to be. And it was a pleasure to make, because there's not any brain space needed for this work. It's just a true joy to crochet. It's a simple, a very beginners friendly project, I think, and the framing is like, I think, the most enjoyable part in every blanket. I think this is my opinion anyway. Yeah, so I just kept on crocheting 3 rounds of double crochet stitch in each stitch around, and then on the last round I made a slip stitch around the blanket to the back loop only of each stitch. So you can see, let's see, I'll try to get closer. So you can see this slip stitch at the edge, making this final touch to the very final round of this crochet basic granny square blanket. And yeah, so let's see, I wrote myself a few notes. So eventually I think I used 26 I think I used 26 balls of heavy merino, 26 balls of wool. Yeah, and when you crochet the squares, so you get 4 squares from each ball, and you have left a little bit of, a little bit of yarn left from each ball. So I used this yarn for the joining, and then I made knots and made myself a big ball from everything I have left, and I used it on the framing. And yes, some of the squares are made out of the leftovers left from the balls of wool. So yeah, I made a knot. In some cases I made a magic knot, I think, and then I used the regular knot, and then I weave in the yarn ends later. So this is about how much yarn I used. Yeah, when my blanket was done, I decided to wash it. Yeah. So when my blanket was done, I decided to take the chance and put it in the washing machine on the wool cycle. And I took the chance, and yeah, I washed it because I thought, from my experience as a textile designer, from my experience while I was working in the textile industry, I know that wool can feel a lot different after washing and after, different type and kinds of washing. So I decided to give it a try and wash it, put it in the washing machine, and I did it, and it came out pretty nice. I put it inside, put the laundry liquid, and prayed to God. And when it came out pretty good, and I was very happy. And then I spread it on a carpet in the living room, in the family area, and I spread it evenly and nicely. And I have to say, I gave it the time it needed to make sure all the horizontal and the vertical joining lines are straight, like they sit in a 90 degree one to each other. Because when you spread a wet wool project, crochet project, you can get lost with the shape. So I gave it the time it needed, and it took some time to spread it out evenly and nicely, and it was there sitting, laying on the carpet, but because it's wool, and because I told you this heavy merino is quite spongy and airy, the yarn, so it wasn't a long, it didn't take a lot of time to dry, and so it was laying there drying pretty quick. And then when I came to touch it after it was dry, it felt like a dream, really. I was so happy. I washed it in the washing machine, and I was so happy I took the chance. And it came out so drapey and soft, and yeah, but when I finished it, it wasn't winter anymore. It wasn't the summer, but it wasn't cold as in the winter. So I said, let's see how it looks. And I spread it on our bed, and it was stunning. I really like the way it looks on our bed. So I don't know, but until the winter, it will be spread on our bed, and it will live here every day until winter comes again. And every morning when I do the bed, our bed, I feel so happy to spread this granny square blanket on our bed. I look at it and I really enjoy having it there laying on the bed, and I think that Eyal, my husband, likes it as well. So until the winter, it will stay there. We will enjoy it in our bedroom, and then in the winter we shall see. Maybe it will go to its original location, because I originally made it to for my family use, so it's supposed to be in the living room, but we shall see. Yes, so this is everything I wanted to share about this blanket, my basic granny square blanket. And yeah, there are now, I think, 3 video tutorials related to this blanket. So the first one is how I crochet the 6 rounds granny square. The second is how I joined using the sewing method. And the third one, which I just uploaded a few days ago, I'm not sure when I will upload this video, but I think in a few days. So the third video I uploaded, I think last week, is where I share how I framed my blanket. So I shared all the steps on the framing. And yeah, I have to tell you that I lost, I think, 1 or 2 segments from videos parts from me crocheting the framing, because I filmed the framing video while I was actually making the framing around my blanket. So every time I reached the point that I thought I would like to add to the tutorial, I was stopping the crochet work, record this section. So I think while editing, I think I lost 1 or 2 segments, but I think I managed to complete it with me speaking and explaining how to make this part. So yeah, one of the girls here from the Knit Night, she watched it and she said it's clear. So I hope you will also find it helpful and you find it clear. And yeah, so this is the third. So I have 3 video tutorials shared related to this granny square blanket, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. Now this blanket will go back to our living room here, and I'll spread it on the bed, and I'll take some footage to show you how it looks on the bed, and I'll edit here. So yeah, I have a lot more to share with you, and if you want to see just a short glimpse of what I'm working on now, it's a new bag pattern that I plan to release. This is the next pattern that I plan to release. I'm not sure, and I cannot promise exactly when I will publish this pattern, but I hope it will be soon, and I hope you will like it. So this is what I recently busy working on between the weeklies and between all the other activities in my little crochet objet knitting. Yeah, so I think this is it for today. I hope you will find some inspiration, and if you were looking for a nice and simple and basic project to work on, or even if you are, it's for sure a beginner friendly project, this granny square blanket, for sure a beginner friendly project. And I think with the video tutorials that I uploaded, and with so many other video tutorials out there in the YouTube, you can make this blanket. It's a very simple, and you can make it if you are a beginner. But I can say from my point of view, even if you are not a beginner, and even if you are a crocheter for years and you know all the different stitches and techniques, and it's a very nice project to be busy with. It's a very basic and simple project that you can spend some, relaxing time, some time for yourself to be busy with your hands. I find it very, very meditating, and I just find so much joy in making such simple projects. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope to meet you again soon here with some final objects and works in progress. And yeah, I hope to share more of them with you soon. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!